Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Reign of Horror. I am your host, Nerd Costa Nostra, and it is Wednesday, October 30th. We did it. We've made it. We've made it to the halfway point of the week, and tomorrow is a big day for many of you, for many of us here at Reign of Horror. Tomorrow is Halloween. And yet, even though we haven't even made it to Halloween, I don't know what it's like where everybody else is at, but where I am at, they already have out Christmas decorations for sale. Christmas decorations, Christmas trees, pretty much the entire gambit is already out and for sale. It's like we couldn't even make it to the day of Halloween before we're already getting all the Christmas stuff out and for sale. So I'm sure that's not just where I'm at, my area. I'm sure many of you are seeing that as well and thinking, can we at least get through Halloween first before we start putting Christmas stuff out? So anyways, yeah, it's Wednesday. Hope everyone's had a great day thus far. Depending upon when you're listening to this, it might already be Thursday. So hopefully your Thursday morning is going well, and hopefully you have a great day. Just real quick, if you can, just give a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It definitely helps us out. Obviously, if this is your first time here, this is the Reign of Horror channel, and we talk everything to do with horror, whether that's movies, TV shows, comics, graphic novels. If it's horror, we'll talk about it. We'll get into the details of it. But yeah, definitely the place to find any horror content, and that's all we pretty much cover here. If it's horror related, we'll cover it here. Otherwise, if it's any other topic, we cover that over at our sister channel, Quiet on the Set. So please check out that channel for any other content outside of horror, and like, share, and subscribe over there. So, not much news today. It was a pretty quiet day. There were a few things that have come up that I think are worth talking about. One in particular, I know, on the back of Alien Romulus, there was an announcement about a week ago that they were going to be doing a special edition VHS tape release. I think it's the first time a major studio has done one in almost 20 years, 18 years, 19 years, but pretty close to 20 years. We have seen a couple of other VHSs come out, but obviously not driven by the big studios. Ahead of Terrifier 3, we saw Wal-mart was carrying Terrifier 2 on a double VHS release. And as we covered during last night's show, A Late Night with the Devil is also getting a VHS release. It's getting two releases. One being just your regular VHS, and another one a glow-in-the-dark green VHS. Now, I did go back after last night's show, read through the site that's selling the VHSs for A Late Night with the Devil, and it looks like they have a small amount of orange ones. It didn't say if it was going to glow in the dark as well, but it said it was very limited. Because I know the green ones said there were only 150 green ones, but on the orange ones it sounds like they only have a handful of them, and they're going to be putting those in just random orders. So you never know, you might get even a more limited copy if you end up with an orange one. If you happen to pre-order it, if you happen to be a collector of things like that, then you know, who knows, you might end up getting, like I said, one of those very limited orange VHS tapes of A Late Night with the Devil. So I have not pre-ordered a copy yet. I think I'll go out there and look later on and see if they're even still available. But like I said, those are the only recent films that I'm aware of that have come out on VHS, and coincidentally enough, they're pretty much all horror. I mean, Alien Romulus is, I don't know, Alien, the original one, is kind of considered horror, sci-fi horror. So I think Alien Romulus might fall into that category as well. That, again, that's my opinion. I'm sure some might think it's just, you know, pure sci-fi, but I think it has its tense jump scares enough to make it science fiction horror. So, and we'll cover that here on the channel as well. So anyways, like I said, I hope everyone is having a good day. Hopefully everyone has some fun plans for tomorrow. Tomorrow being Halloween. Again, if you're happen to be go out trick or treating tomorrow night, or staying in and doing something, whether that's Friday night or over the weekend with friends and family, I hope everyone has a great time and be safe out there as well. So tonight's topics, we have a few pretty quick topics. Like I said, there wasn't much out there in the news as it relates to horror. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's stuff out there, but I don't want to I'm not just going to talk about anything just to talk about it, right? I want it to be something that, I enjoy and I think other people enjoy or find interest in, as far as any updates. But man, Terrifier 3 it just seems like it can't do anything wrong. And it just keeps coming for the results of Terrifier and the win that it garnered at the box office. So as we see here, Terrifier Takeover, Art the Clown will ring the Nasdaq closing bell in Times Square on Halloween. So that's again, that would be tomorrow. So with Terrifier now playing in theaters and just passing 50 million worldwide, Art the Clown's domination of the Halloween season continues with the takeover of the Nasdaq market site in Times Square. Yes, Cineverse, Blade Disgusting's parent company, will visit the Nasdaq market site on Halloween Day, October 31st, 2024. Also joining Art the Clown in Times Square on Halloween will be Cineverse executives and guests, including representatives from Terrifier 3, who will be on hand for the ceremony. So, I mean, if you go on to read this, it talks a little bit more about Terrifier, when it was released. Terrifier 3 when it was released. Who was involved? You can see they're talking about how it surpassed Joker Folie à Deux in its first week, I believe. I think it surpassed Joker Folie à Deux in its first week, because at that point Joker would have been out already for 2 weeks, and then this one came on the back of that release in the theaters. And again, and this last little paragraph just kind of again goes on to talk about that. If we jump down here, we have some of the cover art. I think everyone has seen this cover art here. And again, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty short article, but again, I just thought this was pretty interesting. You don't necessarily see, again, for the horror genre, for a horror movie, especially Terrifier. I think this is a pretty big thing. Again, I mean, many of us are like, oh, what's the big deal? Closing the Nasdaq, ringing the bell. What's the big deal, right? Well, I think it's somewhat of a big deal when you think about the movie itself, what traction, what attention it's garnered, not just for itself, the creator, Damien, all those involved, whether it was cast and crew, but also I think it puts a spotlight on the horror genre for us, right? Terrifier 3 being a success while it's a huge win for, again, the cast, the crew, the creators of the Terrifier franchise, but I think, again, it's a huge win for horror as well, because you don't see, I mean, we've seen some horror movies coming out throughout this year, but while we've liked them and while some of them have been really great, none of them have gotten this kind of attention. As far as soon as Terrifier 3 dropped, obviously the numbers at the theater were just skyrocketing, surpassing expectations, I'm sure, across the board. And then it was everything that has followed after that. And it wasn't like we had to wait 2 or 3 months to get these updates. This was all happening fairly quickly after that first week and a half of the release. I mean, they're getting a video game on all major platforms and Steam. And I say platforms meaning like Xbox, PlayStation. I even think the Switch will be getting it too, but I know you can get it through Steam on PC. So they're getting a video game. They're getting various special edition physical media releases for the Blu-ray and 4K. They're getting a Blu-ray and 4K release along with a DVD release, which I think the DVD we knew was obviously that was going to happen. But as far as Blu-ray and 4K releases, then these ultimate editions that are anywhere from 125 to and up. I've seen an Italian version, ultimate box set going for $150. So typically that only happens for major studio releases, but it's happening for this independent unrated film that has now not also become the highest grossing unrated film of all time, which that's a huge accomplishment. And we can see here just the first line of this article is surpassing 50 million worldwide. I think the budget for this one was around 6 million or so, give or take. So that's a huge return, and that's not having to be split with any major studio, because as we've talked about in previous episodes, as well as in the Terrifier episode, Damien was approached and he said, no, thank you. I want to retain control. I want to retain telling the story I want to tell, and I don't want to be, pretty much told what I can and can't do for this film. And I think, he rolled the dice. He rolled the dice on this one, and he won. Because you get a major studio coming in for a franchise like this or a film like this, I guarantee what we saw we would not have seen. We probably would have maybe seen it on behind the scenes or on the extras from a physical release, but it would not have been part of the film, or they would have changed certain scenes to make you have more of the imagination of how someone was being removed, so to speak, from the film, versus what we actually saw art do to some of the characters. So again, he rolled the dice. He won. He beat the casino. Good for him. And now we're just, after all this, hopefully we'll get some news early next year, maybe towards summertime, whether or not they will do a Terrifier 4. I think we all know, again, if you've seen the film, you can surely anticipate they're going to do at least a Terrifier 4. And I've said this in the previous episodes. I'll say it again. I think Terrifier 4 should be it. I don't think there's much more ground to cover unless you start turning this into a normal horror franchise like many other franchises, whether it's Halloween. And again, I'm a Halloween Michael Myers fan. Everyone knows this. You can see behind me again. My favorite. However, do I agree with all the sequels that were they necessary? No. And I would say the same for any other franchise that's getting into the double digits when it comes to sequels. Terrifier is obviously not there. However, the story Terrifier has been telling, you can see that the runway is starting to get shorter, and they don't have much more to go unless in part 4 the character Sienna and her cousin Gabby, unless they end their stories, and if they move on with a part 5 or some sort of spin-off story where it's new characters and Art the Clown is terrorizing somebody else or other people, then obviously you would continue. But the story that they're telling now, the runway is getting very short, and I would imagine it'd have to be tied up in a part 4. When I think about Terrifier 3, I've mentioned this. Was it my favorite of the 3 we've gotten so far? No, I'm still leaning on Terrifier 2 thus far as my favorite. I think what ruined, let me retract that. It didn't ruin it. What I disliked about Terrifier 3, and I've mentioned this again before to anyone who's talked to me about this, is the humor that they added into the film, into Art's character. When you watch that character in Terrifier 1 and 2, he doesn't have this humor built in, or he wasn't given this humor. It's very sadistic. He's very, trying to remove people from the film, from the environment, right? In this one, they definitely went in a completely different direction. While he's still doing those things, and while he's still Art the Clown, they added a lot more comedy to him. And when I was in the theaters, there were, those scenes happened. Obviously, it was very noticeable, and people were laughing more. They were laughing more than being, whether it was terrified or scared, jump scare, what have you. They found it more humorous, and I think that kind of took away some of the elements for the character as well as the movie. But again, that's just my opinion. Some people may believe that the humor added to it and it was necessary. So, but again, to each his own. So that's all I wanted to cover on this. Again, I just thought it was pretty interesting that they're going to have Art the Clown there ringing the Nasdaq market site at the closing bell. So again, Terrifier again doesn't seem to be doing any wrong. So I think at this point they should just ride the wave as long as they can until, like I said, that runway ends with, I think, would be Terrifier 4. If they do any spin-offs, it'll be interesting to see how they do that. We've seen films that are franchises that are successful like this, and they end up with a TV series or something like that on a major streaming platform. So who knows? We could see the end of the movie feature film franchise, so to speak, and then they move something towards a series, a TV series. But even them, I think they could easily do that because they've shown what they can do with a very small budget. They would need to try and keep as much control over it as possible, because again, if you start handing over the keys to the city to a studio or studio execs, they're going to start thinking what they want to see, what they don't want to see, and then really what they want to do for the shareholders. So I think Damien should keep it in his hands as long as he possibly can until he either can't or until he decides no more Art the Clown. I've told the story and I'm not signing over the rights, so that just in case I ever want to come back to it on my own. So that's the latest on Terrifier. If we see anything else popping up, if we see any more news on sequels or TV shows, we'll definitely make sure to bring it up here on the show. All right, so let's jump to. So I touched on this one a bit at the beginning of the show. The official Alien Romulus VHS tape is now up for pre-order through Walmart. So before you all try to go to Walmart.com or try to go to bloodydisgusting.com and find the link to click on to get right to this item, it's already sold out. So you can see that this article was published today. It was published 8 hours ago, and here on the West Coast, it is currently 5:04 p.m. And I happen to, and I can show it to everyone. I have it here just in case anyone wants to see what it looks like, and we'll come back to this. But you can clearly just see right here, out of stock. So if we jump back to the article here real quick, just announced last week, Fede Alvarez's Alien Romulus is getting an official VHS release from 20th Century Studios, and the limited edition tapes are now available for pre-order, scheduled to begin shipping on December 3rd. So roughly a month and a week, a month and 4 days or so, give or take. You can pre-order the Alien Romulus VHS tape through Walmart's website right now for $59.96, and that red part there, that's just the link where you can go get it. The Alien Romulus VHS comes in the wake of Bloody Disgusting offering up an official Terrifier 2, and as I just mentioned this, VHS at Walmart stores, which was the first wide release VHS tape in many years. Check out the box art for the upcoming official Alien Romulus VHS release below, which will be in a full screen 4:3 aspect ratio with an English stereo language track. So let's just scroll down a little bit more. This fully functioning VHS tape was created in celebration of the 45th anniversary of the legendary Alien franchise, and the box features artwork by the renowned Matt Ferguson. So we'll scroll down here so you can see. We'll scroll back up a bit. Is there anything else? So this is the rest of this really just touches on the film is now available on digital. I think that came out 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. It's been on digital, I know, at least for 2 weeks. But it's still, the price for digital nowadays, if many of you do buy digital, you're going to know it's either mostly it's $19.99 to rent them. And that doesn't depend on the platform. I think it's pretty universal across like Amazon Prime, Apple, the platforms that do allow you to rent. It's typically $19.99. And if you want to purchase, it's, I've seen them no higher than $24.99, but when you think about that, and when you think about the Blu-ray, and whether it's the 4K, the Blu-ray, or the DVD that's dropping on December 3rd, depending upon where you go and depending upon who might be having a sale that particular day or during those coming weeks, especially around the holiday season, you'll spend the same amount of money for the physical. And nowadays, most Blu-ray and 4K releases come with a digital copy. Now, you don't get to pick which platform you go on to. Now, those studios have contracts with certain platforms on where you can redeem the digital code. I think for the vast majority, Apple is typically always an option. But outside of that, I don't think I've ever seen, since digital codes for movies have been a thing. And again, I could be out of the loop on this, and I can follow up on it if I am. But digital codes you've never been able to redeem and redeem it for like Amazon Prime. It was always Apple or some other like Movies Anywhere or some other, digital streaming platform where you could access the film. Maybe that's something Amazon needs to get on board with. If they're offer digital copies, maybe Amazon can tap into that as well and get people to redeem it on their platform. So just who knows. But yeah, till December 3rd, physical releases come out for Alien Romulus. And again, if we'll jump, and then the rest of this article you see here just kind of talks about more about the movie. But let me go back up to the top. We'll just jump over to the Walmart site just so you guys can see so that's the front of the VHS tape. Looks, I liked how they didn't use the entire box, so to speak, on the front, and you can even see a little bit on the sides here. And if we look at the back of it as well, it looks almost like they were going for a vintage look for this VHS release, especially it being a limited edition. It definitely has that retro look where they just took the poster and put it in the front. Some of the credits are at the bottom, that old school VHS logo and that old school 20th century logo at the bottom as well. So again, I'm not sure when this, let me go back to the image. I'm not sure when this sold out. Like I said, the article posted 8 hours ago, and I saw the article fairly quick after the news broke. So I think I saw it around, like I said, it's about 10 after 5 here on the West Coast. I think I saw it around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and they were still available. So these were not sold out right away, but with it being limited, and it does not, we can check it real quick. Let's scroll down. I don't think it does not say how many are available here. And if we go back to the article, I don't believe the article mentioned what that number was either. But again, yeah, so this is just the same box art that we just looked at, just a little bit closer. But again, it did not mention how many they were producing. Now, I know when we talked about A Late Night with the Devil, like that, the glow-in-the-dark green, it clearly says there on the website they're only making 150 of those particular ones that come in like this book box for it to be kept in. So obviously this is a very limited run. Again, if it's sold out already in less than a day. So obviously the collector, either the collectors are going after them, but I think the vast majority are going to be resellers from a third party. And once these start shipping out in early December, I wouldn't be surprised if there are already some on eBay for people who were able to get one. They've probably already posted something on eBay saying that they're selling it, and if it was $59, I'm sure they'll be selling for at least 100 plus, easy. And it being limited, I think your hardcore Alien fans will definitely shell out that kind of money for it. So if you were able to get one, congrats. If not, and you want one, you might end up having to pay at least almost double by the time you factor in shipping and tax and everything. You'll probably end up paying double retail just to get it in your collection. So happy hunting if you didn't get one. So all right, so we're gonna jump to the next topic. So this is kind of a bit of a crossover. While I don't look at Marvel and DC and stuff like that as horror content, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because today Disney or Marvel, however you want to refer to them, came out with some of their content, their TV content that will be coming out in the future. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because it kind of does dabble into the horror arena when we talk about zombies. So Marvel Studios sets Marvel Zombies series for October 2025 Disney Plus release. So we got a ways to go, guys. Definitely have a ways to go before we see this come to fruition. At least we're looking at a year, at least. Well, not even at least. We're already into November, so just shy of a year since this is October 2025, and we only have 1 day left in October. So we see here. I mean, you have a quick image, a quick look at the Captain America zombie. I think that looks absolutely fire. I would like it maybe a little bit clearer, but it just could just be the picture that they use for the article. So let's just jump down right into some of the details, and we'll move on to the next topic. But again, I thought it was worth mentioning because it is zombie related. Zombies are obviously horror related, so we're definitely going to cover that. In 2021, the Disney Plus series What If teased the horror possibilities from Marvel Studios with the introduction of Marvel Zombies in a one-off episode that turned our favorite superheroes into the undead. Today, Marvel has unveiled their 2025 Disney Plus television release schedule, which dates the 4-episode sequel series for Halloween 2025. Now, most series are getting 8 episodes nowadays, and that's still short, in my opinion. I remember when TV series would be 20-some episodes. Even in the 80s and 90s, you'd have TV shows, and I'm not talking animated. I'm talking live action television shows would be up into the 30 episodes. Now, don't get me wrong. I know what it took to maybe make or produce shows then from a cost was probably a lot less, and a lot of those shows didn't require whether it's CGI, special effects, sound effects, all that type of stuff. Wasn't required. Like Golden Girls, I'm sure didn't require a bunch of CGI. Charles in Charge, Family Ties, all these old school shows that I'm probably aging myself on, didn't require a whole lot of CGI, special effects. They were just very point blank shows, right? And that's probably maybe why they were able to do so many then, and maybe now because of where we're at in cost, and not just cost to make the shows, but maybe cost to just pay for the actors and actresses and the crew and the writer. I mean, everything else. I mean, everything has gone up in cost when it comes to producing and creating a show. So that could be why we're limiting things to 8 episodes. I don't know, because with House of the Dragon season 2, we know it's been reported that they did 8 episodes, but they clearly had planned on doing 10, but came out saying they ran out of money or didn't have the funds to do 10, so they decided to just do 8. And if you've seen House of Dragon season 2, it suffers with 8 episodes. So to loop this back around to this topic of Marvel Zombies, if you're only going to do a 4-episode sequel series, they better be great episodes. And I don't know if it's going to be a 4-episode story or if each episode will just be its own individual story around Marvel characters and zombies, and it's very siloed. I mean, they could easily do that, but then every episode better be a great episode. It better be a good story. I mean, there's obviously source material out there on Marvel Zombies, so it's just boiled down to what do they decide to take this, right? But obviously we're getting it. Just would have liked to have seen more than just 4 episodes. So, and as you can see here, as I just mentioned, source material. The series is based on the comic run of the same name that sees an alternate universe where various heroes get infected and turn while the unaffected ones try to save themselves and the world. The Marvel Zombie series was officially announced by Marvel Studios in November 2021, where the show was described as a continuation of the universe introduced in the What If episode. So it just goes on to talk about who's going to be involved in it, rating, what the rating is going to be. We have down here, I'm sure many of you have already seen this, just the Marvel Studios Marvel Zombies logo, emblem, and that's all we got for that. So anyways, all right, so let's jump to, we got a couple more topics. It's gonna be a short show tonight, so let's just jump into it. All right, so here we have a name we haven't seen in horror for quite some time, which is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, to star in genre film Pendulum from producer Darren Aronofsky. Hopefully I'm close on that pronunciation. But so we haven't seen. I mean we've seen Joseph in other films. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like he's just been sitting around not acting. He's obviously been in some stuff. So this is a picture of him from Killer Heat. So he's obviously, from the last time I think we've seen him in a horror film, it's been a minute. I mean, it's been, let's see, it's 2024. So it's been 26 years, give or take. Because I think the last, if we go down here, I'll just, so if as I'm talking, even wants to kind of read through this. I think the last horror film I can remember him in, and again, I'm sure anyone watching can correct me if I'm wrong. Just just correct me in the comments. But was in the 1998 Halloween H2O, the H20, however you refer to it, the 20 years later, which he was very young in, and he was only in that film for the first. I mean, it wasn't even in. I mean, the film didn't start off with focusing on him, but I think about 10 minutes in, it shifted to him and one of his friends. So he played a character named James or Jimmy Howell, and he lived next door to the character named Marion Whittington, who was I don't want to say caretaker, but she was the one. She was at first a peer of Dr. Loomis, and eventually, as the story is, as Dr. Loomis got older, she then became his caretaker or started to take care of him. So they lived in this house together. By this point in the story, though, by the time we start this film, Dr. Loomis has already passed away, but Marion is fearful that she believes someone's in her house. So Jimmy and his friend come over. So Jimmy, who's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, goes in, doesn't see anything, but obviously someone's been in the house. Him and his friend go back next door to his house. Marion goes into her own house, and she's like, nope, not doing this. Believes somebody's in there, so she rushes over to Jimmy's house, where she finds Jimmy dead. And that's it. That's the extent of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Halloween career in the Halloween franchise. So it's, like I said, it's been a minute since he's been in something. But this article here just goes on to talk about he's starring in this film. So we see here, I'll just kind of run through the details real quick. The film follows a young couple, Patrick, which will be played by Gordon-Levitt, and Abigail, on a journey to a New Age retreat in New Mexico, drawn by possibility of healing after a traumatic event. Patrick, pause. So I'm just reading that already. I'm guessing the tragic event may be the loss of a child, or something going wrong within their marriage, something of that nature. That's typically what we've seen in this type of setup, not just in horror movies, but other films as well. So that's my guess thus far. Patrick is willing to do anything to help his wife, but becomes distrustful. Wow. Of the retreat's enigmatic leader, even as Abigail falls under her spell. As paranoia builds, the couple must determine if the group's unconventional spiritual practices offer genuine healing or mask a terrifying truth that threatens to consume them both. And then, the article just goes on to say, who's involved, some of the work that the other ones have done. It mentions right here, outside of a small role in Halloween H2O, Gordon-Levitt doesn't venture into genre territory very often, so it's been interesting to see just how terrifying this new genre film will get. And again, and then that's where the article ends. So I'm all for, I'm all for it. If it's something new, it's something that's going to be fresh, a new entry into the horror genre that's not a rinse and repeat of something we've already seen, just slapping another name on it. Bring it. I think we've gotten a lot of new stuff and a lot of new ideas this year so far in 2024 when it comes to horror. So I think the more the merrier. Again, as much as I love the classics and the classic villains, I'm more open to seeing new stuff than, again, just a rinse and repeat of the same things. So yeah, so more to come on this. There wasn't as far as like a specific date. We have here that principal photography will begin in March 2025. So we have a ways to go. Before we see this film. And so hopefully this film won't fall into the trap of, whether it's a funding, getting additional funding to finish it, or just funding period. hopefully everything will work out script wise, schedule wise, and we actually do get to see this one come out. So, all right. So moving on to our last topic of the evening. Longlegs stars next film is a twisted take on Bram Stoker's classic horror tale. So, Longlegs star Maika Monroe finds her next project in her busy horror schedule. This time a twisted take on Bram Stoker's classic vampire tale. Monroe, who made her name known in the cult classic It Follows, continues to find herself entrapped by terrifying tales that flip the genre on its head. Next time she's on the big screen, Monroe will encounter an Eden of vampire brides in a new film from Film Nation Entertainment. So, yeah, she's definitely making. So Maika's definitely making her name. Let me just go down a little bit here. So let's actually, before I give my opinion on that, I want to jump right to this quote here. Brides is set to redefine the horror genre with Choi Okuno's unique blend of feminist themes and gory visuals. The script is dynamic and unsettling in all the best ways. Chloe, now it says Chloe. That's maybe someone misspelled the name. Always brings such a dread and complexity to her characters, and we can't wait to work with her and Maika to bring Sally to life or to undeath, as the case may be. And then we have another quote down here that provides a little bit of a synopsis for the film. Set in 1960s Italy, Sally Bishop, who Maika will be playing, and her husband travel to a remote villa in the wake of Sally's nervous breakdown. The villa's owner, a mysterious count, takes a peculiar interest in Sally, but he gets far more than he anticipated when Sally's feminist chaos is added to his perfect violent Eden of vampire brides. Interesting. So obviously, I'm all for it. I'm all for let's get it. Hopefully, when we get a teaser trailer or a main trailer out, we'll definitely bring that to the channel and take a quick look at it. But it's good to see. It's good to see Maika, continuing with the horror films. Now, don't get me wrong. I think she's a phenomenal actress. Absolutely great. And I think she doesn't get enough credit from some of the other stuff that she's done outside of horror. Like there's a film that she's in called God is a Bullet. If you have not seen that film, highly recommend it. It's not a horror film, but it is a pretty intense film. So if you are easily offended, if you're easily squeamish, it's a very raw film. Definitely has some very violent scenes. But again, if you're here watching this and you subscribe to the channel and we only talk about horror here, and we just have gone through Terrifier, odds are you've seen Terrifier, and odds are God is a Bullet isn't going to offend you. You'll be able to handle it just fine. However, I think some of the themes though is more what I'm referring to as they're pretty intense, some of the themes. So tread lightly, but again, I've seen it a few times. I definitely think it's worth a watch. It was one of those films that got done, didn't get released right away, and again flew under the radar until it did, and doesn't get talked about. But she stars in it. She does a phenomenal job. But again, my concern for her though, when it comes to horror, is I don't want her getting kind of typecasted, so to speak, where all she will be known for is horror films. Now, if that's your thing and you can be very successful at it, hey, keep doing you and keep making that money. However, we've seen this time and time again where some actors or actresses get caught up in one particular genre or class of movies and films, and then they get to a point in their career where they want to step out, they want to do other things, and they're not necessarily given the same opportunity or the same shake because they're like, oh, all you've done is horror. You haven't done, whether it's drama or this or what have you. I think that's kind of the detriment. While I love her in the horror space, I hope she does start to take some roles outside of horror. I mean, obviously, don't leave horror altogether, but take some more opportunities outside of the genre so you can kind of show your full scope of talent. Because again, I know, and I've seen some studios and execs they won't give some of these very talented actors and actresses an opportunity because they've spent so much time in the horror space and they don't think they can do anything else. So hopefully, again, she doesn't find herself in that position. I don't think she will. She's still, I mean, she's obviously still very young, but she's definitely been putting out some great stuff. So obviously we have more horror content coming from her that she'll be in. So all right, everyone. So that is going to wrap up topics. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Again, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe. And for other content outside of horror, check out our sister channel, Quiet on the Set, and give that channel a like, share, and subscribe as well. We do try to do daily shows as best as we can. Again, we are in the process of putting together a live show schedule. I don't think at first we will be doing live shows daily because we kind of want to do a mix of, uploads, like things like this, on top of doing live shows. But we are also going to look at doing some watch parties as well, bringing some people onto the panel to talk about films, some of their favorites, where the horror genre has been, where it's at, and where it could be going. So definitely on the agenda to get those things ironed out for the channel. But we also, on top of doing daily shows, we might substitute out a daily show for a very specific film topic or a very specific film that we'll dive into and kind of dissect, what the movie's about, some of the intricate parts of the film, things of that nature. So anyways, that's going to do it for tonight. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you at the next one. Peace.